unexpected items around us here. And what I'm going to invite us all to do is just to get a chance to share an insight, share something that came up for us. We have enough people here to really just slow down a bit to see like what showed up for us, what might have surprised you, what might be a question that you want to continue exploring with this year. But go through and just feel free to share your experience of having gone through these questions. And what I'm going to invite us to do as we go through is if we hear something that we get on a personal level or in some way, shape, or form, there's a symbol that I like to use, which is it's almost like the cowabunga thing, like this, but we just share this like this, and it means me too, I get you, or on some way, shape, or form, I'm feeling this. So this way we can be in our shares without having to interrupt. We don't need to go and say like someone else. We can just in the moment pass that on and continue. So Samay, why don't we start with you, right? And then we'll go to Muriel, and then we'll go to Georgie. But just like one insight that came up, or a question that came up for you. Currently, you're muted, so I can go ahead and I'll unmute you right now. Okay, you're unmuted.
Okay.
Hi.
So, Nyama, I think things that are easy to share are ideas. So beliefs, perspectives, ideas are easy to share. But things that are difficult to share, there are things that are personal. So things maybe where I have a personal ideal, but I feel that other people may not share this, especially in Singapore, where the beliefs and cultural standings are very different. So it's like, okay, well, maybe this is how it is here. I have a stand against this, but do I say something or do I just let it go? Because this is obviously socially acceptable.
You know, I love to ask, like, how many of you get that experience? It might be specifically related to Singapore, but just like in any environment where it's like, what are the social norms? What is actually acceptable in this space here? Can I actually express what it is that I'm looking to express, and would that be accepted? Am I getting some of that there, Samay? Yeah, yeah. And there's a reason why I call it the Courage Two series, the courageous conversations, because there's an element, at least for me, I'm imagining that it can feel unsafe without really knowing what's allowed and what's acceptable here. What else might it feel like when in those environments where it feels like, and I'll keep this with you, so maybe let's talk a little bit back and forth before we move on. Like, what do you feel when you're in those environments, in those spaces where?
Very, very uncertain. A lot of times it's more about, should I say it or should I not say it? So it's like a doubt. It's a mixture of self-doubt and not wanting to impose on other people. Someone actually once told me the story about truth and about saying stuff, and that is, truth is a burden. So there's times that you can keep things to yourself and don't share it because it would add weight to another person. So there's a mixture of that. There's a mixture of, well, if everybody else is doing that and it's socially acceptable here, how can we say, oh, well, I don't like it? So one of the things that I had a lot of difficulty when I came back to Singapore was the use of the word auntie. It's like, you're not my relative. Why should I be calling you auntie? You're totally unrelated to me. You're not my family. So it's those sort of things. I mean, I've gotten more used to it. I call just about everybody auntie now. I forget, and I should be calling people sister because I'm of that age group now. But it's one of those things that it's like, okay, well, I'm very uncomfortable with this. And this was really small, calling some unknown hawker auntie, or like the bookshop lady auntie. But I felt like it was a big imposition on me. So that's sort of like, yeah, and I didn't know how to bring it up. It's like, we'll just avoid calling anybody anything.
Yeah, you know, when you say that, it takes me back to myself. Like, you may not know this, but I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I like that's why I started this whole thing off with I'm here to serve rather than please, because that's just how I live that there. And there's this element of Georgie, I see you there. There's this element of like, I'd rather not say anything then, because I don't I'm hearing like you don't want to transfer the burden of the truth. You don't want like it's uncomfortable as it is. And so rather than even speaking anything at all or addressing in any way, um, it's not you just choose not to actually even just approach it. Am I getting some of that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's a really interesting thing that the concept of the burden of truth. And I'd be curious as that does that still feel like it applies to you?
Um, in a lot of ways, truth is the truth, and I feel that you are free to speak your truth, but sometimes things are about perspectives, and it's not fair to put that on another person.
Okay, interesting. So they like, um, if you have more to say, please, I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay, awesome. So let's continue here. We'll come back to some of this today. I think what I want to do is give us a chance to actually. There's two things I'm realizing here. What I want to, I've set up the stage this way, so I'm going to acknowledge me setting it up this way. What I want to give us a chance to do is to really use this as a practice zone and to dive deeper into some of the things that are true for us, some of the truths that we may not normally say out there, some of the things that like um, bring it to a level of personal for each of us, so that when we leave this conversation, we can go out and I would say even my objective is to say to be in a place where we speak our truth, one more truth each day. That's it. Right. What I want to make sure for now, we're in a good place, but I want to make sure we're able to bring out, go from the concept of truth and bring it down into our world, and we'll see how we can play around with that. I just want to make sure, like, we can have an interesting discussion at that level to talk about truth on the global scale of things. But I want to make sure I'm also giving you all a chance to be able to get into some areas that are really real for you in this moment, because I feel like that's why you're here. So just I'm going to speak this out right now, as I try and navigate that. You might see me do different things or go in different directions to really make sure that we continue to get uh, to the core of what it is for you in this conversation. We're just getting started. Click on the link below to watch the full conversation and go to niyamaashan.com/tribe to get additional resources and exclusive invitation to tribe only events. Journey on.